So we were doing a test this morning at the Trent River at the dam across from Tim's. See the boats up there. There's only you only see a couple of them. There's about 11 or 12 of them there this morning. Large ones, big boats, gas guzzlers. Of course, all I mean by that is if you're gonna have one of those boats, you need to be able to afford the gas cost, fuel cost. And it is the life, boating. And I'm just doing a little test here on the, there's something in law that's called all things presumed until proven, unless proven to the contrary. And there you have it. That's how it starts. Everything is presumed unless proven to the contrary. So, it's presumed you're John Paul Smith. What evidence do you have to prove the contrary? And there is evidence to prove the contrary, and that's what we're going to talk about here. That's right, that's what we're going to talk about here. Oh, by the way, this is a new setup here. I got the Sony A7R5 here on video mode. Sony has microphone system hooked up. It's my first time doing this. I got the camera and a little tripod there. Which I have a remote control on the order. It's not in yet, but it'd be cool when I get here because I control this whole thing from the remotely. Anyhow, when it comes to registering births, that is the function of the Office of the Registrar General, is to register births. And now listen up, is your proof of the registration of that event. Proof of the registration, not proof of identity, proof of registration. Not of you, though. Remember, I've said it before, the government does not register people, So that understanding right there ought to be worth $1 million for people. Okay, so a birth certificate is proof of registration, but not proof of registration of me. No. So John Paul Smith has registered the name, that legal identity, but not my physical identity or your physical identity. But you got to check the jurisdiction you're at there. I believe it's all the same. It all comes out of the United Nations civil registration, and every country is, if not, they will be on board with that civil registration, registering births. And to issue proof of the registration. Remember, again, the government does not register people. And that birth certificate was never intended to be personal identification. It is not, as I've shared in previous videos in the XY and HMQ case and other stuff. We get all kinds of communications from the Office of the Registrar General. We register births and are responsible for registering births and issuing proof of registration. A birth certificate may be used as a foundation document for identification purposes. May is permissive, not obligatory. Change the Name Act. A person whose birth is registered in Ontario is entitled to be recognized by the name on the certificate. And entitled is choice, not obligation. That's why I shared in the past a fella I shared that with Change the Name Act part there 15 years ago. He's been using it ever since, just to, if anybody wants to start recognizing by that name. He says, well, by what authority are you recognizing me by that name? See, there is no legislated authority. You're the authority. You're doing it to yourself. Somebody says John Smith, and you answer to it. My son was in court for marijuana possession back in 2010, just municipal court, provincial offenses. So when they called the case, I told them when they call the case and they call the name, you look up there and say, just to clarify, I'm not John Paul Smith. The name is John Paul Smith. I'm using a dummy name here. And as soon as he said that, which was the truth, the judge ordered a psychiatric evaluation. Now, there's two points there. One is there's a time and a place to say that sort of stuff, and a lot of things they're not going to let you say in a public court, because you're going to start to educate the people and the witnesses and bleachers behind you, right? So of course the judges don't want that to happen in many cases. So the point there is to deal with that kind of issue before court. Like I said, I don't go to court anymore. So it's a waste of time. Deal with it in advance. That's what I learned. To deal with it in advance, to deal with the prosecution, to deal with the debt collector, whoever, whatever it is, was. By slapping the truth down. You're presuming that I'm John Paul Smith. You're presuming I'm the debtor. Well, guess what? Here's the proof. Here's the evidence that proves the contrary. So back to my son there when he did that. So they made the appointment for the psych evaluation. We went to that psych evaluation, and at no time did they ever discuss anything for the reason we were there, which was, well, he said in court he's not Jeff. The name is Jeff. That was never discussed as part of the psychiatric evaluation. Didn't come up. Point being is that was just, in hindsight, that was just the judge's way of getting that guy out of the court before other people started catching on to what was going on there. Think about it. So, yep, all things are presumed unless proven to the contrary. So you're presumed innocent, right? Allegedly. So you're proven guilty. Maybe today it's more like you're presumed guilty unless you prove yourself innocent. You know, the justice system's kind of taking a sideways turn here. The injustice system, whatever you want to call it. It's not God's justice anyhow, it's man's justice, which is the opposite of God's justice. People need to get a grip on that too, but that's not really the purpose of this video. So yeah, we got several communications from the Office of the Registrar General and other evidence to rebut the presumption that I am, or you, is John Paul Smith. A gorgeous morning here, paradise. Wow. Got a little pan here for you. So right now we're looking northwestish in town of Campbellford. It's the main road coming into town on the other side of the river here. You can't see it very well. You might see some vehicles going past, but that's about it. Right there we got Canadian Tire. Man, one of my favorite places over there is Tim Hortons. Coffee. Start the day. 8 o'clock in the morning. Here we are. And across over there, and you see the gas station over there. Some homes. See, all things presumed unless proven to the contrary, and the onus is on you to prove the contrary. No, birth certificate does not have mature identity. I don't know how to make it any clearer than that. A couple other little things here of significance. In others, I've talked about this. If I look on my birth registration document, the statement of birth, it has two names on there. It says given names. Again, they're going to use the default here for video purposes. John Paul is the given name. And then the surname, which is John Paul, which is Smith. And anybody that's been to court, and I had an argument with the judge once. He says, right going to court, I was talking to the prosecutor. I kind of sort of knew the prosecutor from previous encounters. So I would just refer to him as Mark. And the judge pipes up and says, we don't use first names here, we use surnames only. They use surnames only. It's always, once they call the name, they call John Paul Smith. But once you're in there, it's Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith, Mr. Smith. It's all Mr. Smith. You see, that's very significant too. Your name is the given names. But when you add the surname to the given names, that creates a legal name, a legal identity, and you keep identifying yourself with that, or by that name. So for all intents and purposes, it's like you're not, but it's like you're registered now. And if you're registered, then you're doomed because they own you. They own you. So there's a definite distinction on the registration of birth. There's the given names. You have to look on your own. And the surname. So given names, surname, that's two different names. Given names is a set name, is a name, and surname's a different name. But when they combine the givens and the surname into one, that's a whole new identity, that's a whole new name, and that's the one people are saying, yeah, I'm John Paul Smith. bang, you're doomed. Or you just dug a deeper hole for yourself to dig yourself out of. So the time to to address these matters is, like I say, I don't go to court anymore, but when I was called to, I never did. I finally figured out, it was a waste of time going to court. I deal with it before it gets to court by rebutting certain presumptions before it gets there, so when it gets there, it doesn't get there. Or it's a short formality. In any case, having been to court now for 11, 12 years. So yeah, a birth certificate may be used as a foundation document for identification purposes for people born in Ontario. So in any case, I've said this before, but there's all kinds of evidence to rebut the presumption that you're John Paul Smith. All sorts of it. And it's the adoption of the surname added to the given names or first name, whatever's on your registration birth documentation. It changes the scope of everything in their favor and to your detriment. This is my first time doing this video thing here and on the road like this with this microphone system, and I'm hoping it's all working and I can play it back. Being done in 4K here, which I've never done before. And some software will run it, some won't. Anywho, this concludes my little test here this morning. Thank you very much. God bless you. Love you. Think on what I've said here. There'll be more to come, but think on it. Be provided in the rescission videos. And the YouTube channel is a playlist, a rescission playlist. Listen to them. Watch them. Listen, and listen carefully. It's amazing how many people, with all due respect, say they watch the videos, but they're not hearing what's being said. They're not taking the time to listen, or they're anticipating what I'm going to say before I say it or something. I don't know. They're just craziness. But they're talking about stuff that's not even there. So it kind of blows my mind. What the heck's going on here? But yeah, I'm going to go on my day here. It's a glorious victorious morning. It's going to be another scorcher. We've had a lot of scorchers here, temperature-wise. And so I won't be out all day. I'm going to get a little bit hot there and get into the air conditioning. Not even a breeze. Yeah, so anyhow, to keep up to speed on everything, I highly recommend you watch the rescission videos. And you start to seek your own evidence if you haven't already done so to rebut presumptions. That's all it takes. And then what do you do with it? We'll talk about that in the future. God bless. Love you. Ciao. Light of God never fails. Not possible.